Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My dear brothers, good afternoon. How you doing? Welcome to episode 88 of Mental Health Mandate. A mandate from God that we should take care of our mental health, as well as a date with a man. So, how are you all doing? If you're in the canteen having breakfast, if you're in the changing room, or if you're just driving home in England or in Nigeria, driving home from work, welcome to Mental Health Mandate. Today, I have a date with a man, a date with a man. I'm going to be on here for the next 30 minutes with a brother of mine that I've known from way back, just talking about having conversations about workplace burnout. Workplace burnout. So the person I have with me today, it's he's a formal and soon to be registered nurse. So there's a gap in between both. We'll find out when he comes on. So he's going to talk about his experience with mental health challenges and workplace burnout. So without further ado, I want to introduce Matthew Millward. Matthew Millward as he comes on stage. Matthew, how you doing, sir?
Hickman was I'm doing well these days, but I have not always been doing well. It's good to see you again.
Thank you very much. Matthew, I'll just tell you right off the bat, just the way you said it, I am doing well these days, but I'm not always doing well. I like to start from there. That's not a common thing that we say as men. It's always very hard for us to say we're not doing well. Each time someone asks you, how you doing? Yeah, I'm okay, I'm fine. Especially men. So I'd like to know, how did you get to a place where you can be so sincere with how you're really feeling?
I have always kind of been a blunt person, and if I have not been doing okay, I say I'm not doing well. And it's okay to not be okay.
Hmm.
And I'm at peace with if someone says, "Hey, how are you doing today?" I say, "Not well." You ask me a question, if you ask me a question, you're going to get the honest answer. And if you're someone who I am willing to open up and share with, I'll give you an honest answer. If you might just be a guy a passerby on the street, I might not feel comfortable to open up to you. But with you,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
am open and honest enough to say I have been unwell at times, but better today.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that honesty, sometimes people are not even ready to receive it. That's another thing. So when you tell them, because the typical generic answer is, "How you doing?" "Oh yeah, I'm fine." So when they hear, "I'm not doing okay," they don't know what to do with it. They're confused, like, what do I do with this right now? I'm not used to this. What do I do with this? So I mean, that's the struggle with people answering. Okay, so I like that honesty. And this is something that I've always liked about you. Um, you've always been very direct. And when it comes, I'm like, oh my God, this feels refreshing, because I like things that are not very conventional. So when someone comes with me with that unconventional style, I love it. And that's why I'm very happy to have you on the first guest on the returning episode. I mean, this is the first guest. Mental Health Monday never used to have a guest. This is the first time we're doing live interactive sessions. So having you as a guest, it's a pleasure. So Matthew, I'd just like you to, first of all, before we go into mental health, just tell me a little bit about your background. Tell us a little bit about your background, so that the people listening here in the North America, over in England, in Europe, in Africa, would have a sense of who they're listening to.
Sounds good. I am 58, born here in Canada, but from ages 5 to 29, I lived in the US in the state of North Carolina. Happy, healthy childhood. Uh, no trauma or drama really to speak of. Very healthy upbringing. And when I moved back to Canada, I decided to become a registered nurse. And I have worked in a downtown Toronto emergency department for over 20 years.
Mm.
And I really loved the job because every day was different. I never got bored, and I got to work around some really cool people, and I got to help people. So it was
Mm.
a rewarding job. But after 20 years of the stress and the demands and the constantly under pressure, started to affect my mental health. Now, I did not notice this myself, and I was starting to crack on the inside, and I was offered through my workplace. There is a EAP, Employee Assistance Program, which includes a certain number of free therapy sessions. I wish I had taken that. I
Mm.
wish I had taken advantage of the resources I had available and
Mm.
gotten to speak about what what was going on in my head. Instead, I kept it to myself. I was too proud to share that I was feeling under pressure and not coping with the stresses of everyday life and work.
Mm.
And so instead of expressing to others what I was feeling, I kept it bottled up inside. And I used a coping mechanism that was not healthy. And that coping mechanism was alcohol. So I couldn't wait to get home after every shift and just drink my stresses away. And instead of addressing the stresses and issues I was experiencing, by drinking, I would ignore them and shove them to the side. That didn't
Mm.
make them go away. It just made them worse, and it made my drinking worse. So I would highly recommend to others who might be in the same situation, recognize it and talk with someone that you trust, and get some feedback from others, and be a man. Don't be afraid to show a little bit of vulnerability,
Mhm.
because as men, we're human and it's not weaknesses, it's being human. I am not able to cope with everything that comes along my way. I need help, and I didn't ask for it. And I turned down a very destructive path in doing so. And I wish I had asked for help sooner. And so I wish that others don't go down the same path I did, and be more of a man and reach out for help and say, hey, I am a regular human being. I need help.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. There's some things that I caught from what you just introducing yourself and what you've said now. Number one, you said you had a very healthy childhood, no trauma, no drama. I think this is very important because most people will think that mental health issues starts with childhood trauma. They think it's always connected with the childhood trauma, right?
They do it, Moana. They do. And we all have to respect what has happened to each of us in our past and
Mm.
how it does linger. And even though I don't have that, a lot of my friends and coworkers and colleagues do have past trauma that has been bottled up and not addressed and not talked about and not dealt with in a healthy manner. So just because I didn't, I'm part of a group that anything can happen to anybody, whether
Yep.
you have trauma or not.
Mhm.
Trauma is significant in past, and we should not
Mm.
discount that. We should not forget it. It needs to be addressed if it hasn't, because it's still back there.
Yeah.
Uh, it's still back there. It still needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and I think the point I'm trying to make here is this. As much as the majority of mental health issues come from trauma, some might not. It doesn't come from trauma. right? Some just like yours now. I tell you, I'm one of those that felt, because in my own case, mine came from childhood trauma, right? So I'm looking at mental health from the lens of, it has to, something must have happened to you when you were a kid,
And very
right?
much often does with a lot of
Yes,
people.
a lot of people. But you've just, and this is why these conversations, men's conversations about their struggles and mental health is important, because we get to learn, right? And know how to help support the next person, understand ourselves, understand situations like this, because the education is key. And you can only really educate yourself from experience. You can read all that's written on a book. If you haven't been there, if you haven't experienced it, trust me, you really don't know much, right? And if you haven't worn the next person's shoes, you might experience your own. If you haven't worn the next person's shoes, you won't know. If I'm not having this conversation with you, you can't tell me that you didn't have something in childhood and this is happening to you. You know, I probably won't believe. You know, so anyone out there, know that, hey, the best way to really cope with these things is to engage, and we'll get to that. Is to engage, to listen to shows like this, to listen to conversations like this, be a part of it. Just take it in, see what someone else has been through. Maybe you're not there now. Maybe something's going to happen along the line. But when you now hear how what happened to the person, how he navigated it, then you know that's something you have to avoid, right? You'll be able to seek help in the process. So, I mean, that was profound for me when I heard it. Be like, I had a trauma-free. That's the way you put it, like poetic, trauma-free, drama-free childhood. Which is a very nice way to put it. So, and you talked about carrying on, needing help and not seeking help, and just struggling for this. So, how long did you have to struggle for this long? So it's two in one question. How long was it? And knowing that you had help, why did you not take the help you needed?
I won't go through my entire history, but with alcohol, it was a slowly progressing illness, and started off just as partying in college and having fun. And it was fun to party, but I kept at it and I kept drinking. And when you drink alcohol, you need more to get the same feeling. Or with any addiction, whether it's alcohol or drugs, sex, gambling, shopping, you need more to get satisfied. And as that goes up, problems happen. So at no point of the progression did I seek help, primarily because I felt that it was embarrassing. I didn't want anybody to know about my problem. The truth is, with mine, everybody else knew about my problem before I did. And I was too proud to ask for help. And I thought being a man meant I'm autonomous, I am strong, I can work through this myself, I can solve this problem, I'm a problem-solving guy, I can figure it out, I don't need any help, I can figure it out. No, sir. It doesn't work that way. It's only when for me, I found others who had been through the same situation and had learned healthy coping ways of dealing with it. And by them, listening to them, and I heard their stories, and I thought, oh, I did the same thing as you. But now you're healthy. So I found people who I could trust, because if you've got a problem and you're feeling too proud or vulnerable and not trusting of others to disclose your own mental health challenges, you don't have trust in others yet. So there's a key, whether you have access to a therapist or find a group of people who share your problems. And when you find people who share your problems, at first you can just sit back and listen. You can still feel safe in your own mind. Once you have sought out and found at least one person or a support group that shares your problem, whatever it may be, you can just sit back and listen at first before you start to open up. And that's what I did. I found like-minded people who had experienced the same pitfalls that I had, not just with alcohol, but dealing with life and
The struggles.
and my struggles. And I saw that there are others out there who experience the same challenges as me, and I learned from them what has worked for them. So that is perhaps a key solution's too strong, but a key step in achieving better mental health is finding others who have experienced the same thing as you, who you can trust to eventually share that you have experienced the same thing and work together.
Yeah, and I can't agree less of what you just said now. I think I have examples. Personally, for me, when I was doing all of these things, I was doing my mental. I just told you that this program, before we go on live, that this program was on before 3 years ago. I used to do videos about mental health. Now I started it. My first venture into the social media space was a video I did on YouTube. It's called Mental Health Wholeness. That was because in Toastmasters, that was because I was struggling with my own mental health. So I felt I need to speak about my challenges. I spoke about it. After that, I started the Mental Health Monday, right? And I was doing it continuously, just sort of supporting myself. But after a while, it got to episode 86, I got drained. There was no support from anywhere, right? Nobody to say, okay, you're doing this. I was like, what am I doing? This is not even bringing money. It's not. What am I doing? I'm tired. I'm drained. And that's how I stopped. And I'm saying this because exactly what you talked about. And when I stopped, I went back into my struggles again. It hit me again. Even while I was doing it, I was still struggling, but I was just showing up. I was still struggling. I was just showing up, right? And it's been like a roller coaster, in and out, in and out, in and out, just like that. Now, you said you found a community of like-minded people, a safe space where you can offload, right? Or where you can just engage and listen, right? To know that you're not alone. Now, I find that that's something that's very difficult because I've had people reach out to me. I've had someone that I know, a lady reach out to me that I know you used to do the things about mental health. My boyfriend is struggling with this. Do you by any chance have any community or anywhere that he can get help? I didn't have anywhere. That's one of the things that made it dawn on me. You know what? I don't care what it takes. I need to bring this back. At least this is a place where people can engage. Men can see, okay, there's a space where we can go. Even if we're not ready yet to join, we can just listen. Even if it's after the broadcast, we just listen, right? And see just the same way you connected. So my question to you, Matthew, is how did you find the space? Where did you find where did you find them and how did it happen?
For my particular struggle with alcohol, there's a lot of resources out there, and they are easily accessible online and free, and include people who are going through the same thing as me. Okay. For other types of struggles, the first step would be just to go on Google and just type, is there a support group for people experiencing blank challenges? And it doesn't just have to be alcohol or emergency nurses struggling at work. Everybody's got some sort of, whether it's just regular stress in life. You could just be a parent who is dealing with high demands every single day as a parent. And oftentimes a parent might feel inadequate, that they're not doing enough for their children, and that causes stress. Or you don't have to be an emergency nurse to have stress on the job. You know, any job has stress, especially corporate managers who are overworked and stretched to the limit, or any job. What I have found is also, it doesn't have to necessarily be a group who has experienced the exact same challenges as I have. What I have found that has been helpful for me is, because one of the problems that I assessed for me was isolation. I didn't want to go outside and intermingle with others, and I was ashamed of my struggles. And once I identified that, I took measures to combat isolation, and I started joining different groups that got me off my butt, out of the house. And for instance, I joined Toastmasters, which helps people improve their public speaking skills, or give presentations at work, or help with English as a second language. And for me, it increased my social connections, and it got me involved with other people. I also started volunteering in my community with a couple of local organizations that help. For me, I'm interested in helping out homeless and underserved residents of my community. Volunteering gets you out of your own head and gives you a little bit of perspective on how things are for other people. And you might walk away with a little bit of gratitude, recognizing the good things, reminding yourself of the good things that you do have in life. And so increasing social connections at whatever level, whether it's directly related to your mental health challenges or not, I have found to be very helpful.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think Toastmasters is one of the social communities that's helped me most in my life. So I've done so many things, right? I've paid for courses, thousands of dollars, right? They didn't get me as much help as Toastmasters has done, right? Toastmasters gave me the voice to be able to do these things I'm doing right now, to even talk about my mental health, right? It was Toastmasters, because I had to, first of all, do the sparring, the speech sparring in the actual Toastmasters before I was able to take it out from a safe space out there where there could be vampires and people to criticize me. But I didn't care anymore, because I've strengthened my resolve, to take whatever comes. So before we slowly come down to an end, because we're not going to keep this as long, maybe 30 or just slightly over 30 minutes, it depends. I want to go into what specific area of workplace burnout do you think took you to a breaking point? What specific area were you able to identify that this and this were the things that took me to a breaking point, that way you not got to, this is too much for me? And was there a time you broke down, and what took you there? Just fill us in so that we'll have a feel of how you can gradually get to that point.
I am a workaholic. I really like work. I have a strong work ethic, and I would often pick up overtime shifts when offered. A small sense of me felt a duty to do so. A small sense of me liked the extra money, and I was overworked, and a lot of people are just overworked. And being a nurse, I as part of my job was caring for others, and I found that I was focusing so much effort on caring for others that I had neglected to care for myself. Now, I didn't recognize my breaking point, Munwasa, because I was not in a good headspace. So I don't know where it was. It was a steady decline downhill for my mental health, and there's no identifiable one spot. And I'm just hoping that if there are others out there listening who feel overworked, and you think you have pride in the work that you do, and I work hard, I'm good at my job. But if you're paying too much attention to your job, and I might get some negative comments here, if you're putting too much emphasis on your family at the expense of your own mental health, we all know the airplane rule. Remember, if the oxygen masks drop down, you're no good to your family in helping them unless you put the oxygen mask on yourself. So until we as men take care of ourselves, we are not really helpful to the rest of our family as well. So I can't identify a specific breaking point, Chris, and I hope that people recognize they may not be at a breaking point, but they may recognize that they're on a slope downwards with their mental health.
Mm. And I'm just going to touch on the part where you said you might get a little bit of negative comment on this. I think that's the most important part of it. You see that part where you hit, right? That's the sweet spot. A lot of people do that, right? I think that's one thing, that's one conversation that doesn't come up enough, that people don't talk about enough. How you forget yourself, trying to do for family, right? Take care of the family and not do for yourself. I when I wrote my book, there's something I developed. I was like, you gotta learn how to love yourself, right? And this is the thing. I give this example. When parents go into a shop, right? They always think about, they've got kids. They always think of, what can I buy for my kids? The first thought in their brain, what can I get for my kids here? No, you have to learn how to be selfish in order to be selfless, right? Because think about yourself, even if it's small, learn the habit of putting yourself first. It's only when your cup is full that you can pour. If your cup is empty, you turn it, they're not getting nothing, right? So in order to love them, you have to be able to take care of yourself.
Exactly.
That's what we don't do. We push until we're fully depleted. There's nothing to give anymore. And we'll start looking like, oh man, I'm depleted. Someone come and take care of me, and there's no one coming for you. There's absolutely no one coming for you. So I think that part that you just touched is, I think I have people that need to hear this particular what you just said now, that need it right now to understand that this is how you go. You have to focus squarely on yourself. I say, be selfish. Be selfish in order to be selfless. Because when you have full, then you're like, okay, now I can give 20% off and still keep 80 for myself. I can give 20% of myself and still take care of my 80 for myself, right? But you have enough. You've taken care of yourself. So people just learn to, I'll give. Don't worry, I'll get again. I'll give. And you're left with nothing. And you don't even, what happens that over time when you keep doing that, you devalue yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You devalue yourself. Then you look at yourself like, what am I worth? Because you did it to yourself. So so now, Matthew, so how were you able to, when you said that the past 1 year has been good, right? So how did you get to, what happened? What did you do? How did you get to that good spot that kept you going? What did you do? And what have you been doing to maintain that space? That's nice space for yourself.
I started focusing in on myself, and I was selfish for a while and said, at times I would say, sorry, family, I can't do this. I need to focus on this and establish boundaries with my own personal mental health. And everyone respected that. I have reached out for help from others with similar problems that I have. And that's an ongoing thing. That's not a one visit fix all thing. It's an ongoing life thing. And it's not just the alcohol. It's everyday challenges that we all have in life. And how do we cope healthily with the problems? And instead of snapping and getting mad at someone, asking myself, why am I mad at that person? Is it really affecting me? What's my motive for getting mad? Does it do anything? I have volunteered. I have increased my social connections. And as a result, I've been able to improve my diet, my exercise, my sleep by focusing in on self-care. Just those three, diet, exercise, and sleep, are huge in becoming healthy again. Now I am able to be present in a positive way for my family. And increasing social connections, like I say, with Toastmasters and volunteering has gotten my head involved in other pursuits, and helping others gets me out of my own head and gives me perspective on life. So after having struggled and been in a very dark spot and wish I had asked for help sooner, having finally asked for help, I am in a much better place. But it's an ongoing process, and that will continue for the rest of my life, continuing to say, I'm human, I have my limits, I need help.
Thank you very much, Matthew. We're going to keep this to about 35 minutes. Just before we round up, and that's true, it's an ongoing process. Just before we round up, I would like you to speak to someone out there that was in your shoes before, right? That was in your shoes before. What will you tell that person right now, that this is what you need to do? This is what you need to do. Someone that out there, because there are more than 1 million people out there that has been that are right now where you are. I just like you to speak to them for about a minute.
Start with baby steps. If you've got issues, you won't solve them immediately. Start with one person. And what I found, just having a sounding board, to have one person to get out of my head what's happening inside here. Just me, even if the person isn't responding, just me hearing myself talk, I will often think to myself, whoa, why are you thinking that? So it's healthy to talk. Start with one person. If you can find a support group, all the more better. There's lots of individuals out there to help. If you've got access to therapy, start, and then ask the therapist, what can my next step be? Find one person or one group to just start, even if it's online and anonymous. Type in, I am struggling with this. I don't yet feel trustful of real people in my immediate life yet to discuss my problems, but here's what's going on in my head. And type what you're thinking. I think I'm going crazy. I think I feel weak. I think I feel vulnerable. Is this wrong? Is this bad? And now there are some trolls out there in the internet world that will say mean, negative things, but I can't advise, I'm not the person to advise you, but be aware of that. But find somebody to start. Just start with one person or one group, and baby step. Don't feel like you have to solve the whole problem in one fell swoop. Just get a start.
Baby step. Start with one group, one conversation at a time. Baby steps. Thank you very much for this time, Matthew. It's so well appreciated. I think it was divine just to connect with you again. I think it's probably been about 3 or 4 years thereabouts.
Yeah.
So to connect with you again and hear this from you. I tell you, there's someone I spoke to this morning that actually needs to hear this talk. So after this, I'm forwarding this to her, to this broadcast to her, so she can hear it. So if you're out there and you're hearing us here, baby steps, take baby steps. That's the reason why we created this. You don't have to be on live like Matthew's on live. If you're comfortable, you can do this. But if you're not, it's a live stream. You can change your name and just keep typing what you have and how you're feeling. We'll respond to whatever you're typing here. That's why we have this space, so that we can help each other. We don't want to isolate ourselves. You heard Matthew when he said it. When you're in that space, you just want to be by yourself. You don't want anyone to come in because you're ashamed of whatever you're in. You feel you're the only one. You're messing up. You don't have to condemn yourself. So thank you all for taking the time out to be with us this lunchtime. I hope you finished your break. You finished eating. You're getting back to work. Be safe at work. If you're driving home, drive safe. Don't look at the phone while you're driving. Please drive safe. We need you to get home safely so that we can see you again next week. So that's it from us on mental health mandate. We hope to see you again next week, same time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. Bye for now until next week.